Okay, hi everyone. Like always, we have some small issues. I'm really not lucky with pasting these keys. Anyway, it should be good now. Well, crazy day today because I received 1 hour ago, 1.5 hour ago, a warning saying, "Hey, your stream is about to start." Hey, what? No, it's at 4 p.m. And then I realized, yeah. We changed time in Europe, but in the US they didn't yet. Okay, so there's a whole mess up in the agenda. Anyway, that messed up also the other streams. So today we are only streaming on our channel, YouTube, not on Twitch. Sorry for people that, they cannot hear us, but for people that were on Twitch. And anyway, that is show number 7 or 8 already. Yeah. Will be great today. We will have a lot of fun. Please let me know in the chat if everything goes well, if you can hear me well. And yeah, today we will have some fun with this little guy here. You know, it is, you recognize him, it's Pac-Man. Okay, and because of the chroma filter, it has really weird color. What do you think, Pac-Man? Yeah, that's true. Okay, I won't do that. I'm really bad at that. But anyway, we will have fun with Pac-Man. And just before we start the interview, just a small story from this week. Because it's funny. And let me put this. Okay, I was listening to a French podcast with talking about developers, about conferences, about DevOps. And some of the people there, I know them, they are friends, they told us that they think that developer advocates, like me, so I don't know how to translate that in English, but we are glitter throwers. So when we go on stage, we show a lot of magic, but we don't show actually real stuff, real use cases. And in one sense, it's a bit true, but at the same time, it's our role as dev advocates to show you the shiny stuff, the things that will come in the coming months, years. So yeah, I don't mind being called like this. Okay, so that was just to because I found that funny. Lanceur de paillettes in English. Okay, lanceur de paillettes in French. Sorry. And as always, before we start the interview, I play a little jingle, and this time it's my last instrument, and then I will start again with all the instruments that I have. So to finish, I will use my djembe, so you know, this African tam-tam, and I will do a small jingle, and then we will have the jingle for the interview, and then the interview will start. So let me double check, and there we go. Okay, jingle now for the interview. There. We go. Hey, Brendan, how are you?
Hey, Sebastian, that jingle was great. Thanks. I love that. I need that entrance music always.
Yeah. I try to each week to make a new intro because, you know, we don't have budget to have a band like in the talk show. So I do it myself. So anyway, thank you. And so how do I pronounce correctly your name? Brendan, because I'm used to Brendan.
That's good. Yeah.
Brendan O'Leary?
O'Leary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for being our guest. And could you introduce yourself quickly, or take the time you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, so my name's Brendan O'Leary. I am a developer evangelist at GitLab. I've been at GitLab since 2017, when we were about 150 people. We're now 1,250 people in 66 different countries because we are all remote. We don't have an office. I like to talk to people about development. I like to fancy myself a developer on the side, and talk to folks about DevOps and all kinds of things and all the mistakes I've made in my life and try to help them not make those same ones.
Okay, cool. Great intro. So you're a dev advocate, and I ask this question to every developer advocate. I suppose you were traveling a lot as a dev advocate, and back in March, things changed a bit.
For sure, yeah.
How did you handle this situation?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I actually, so I haven't been a dev advocate the whole time I've been at GitLab, and I was actually resisting it because of the travel. So I've got 4 small children, and I just said, I don't know if I want to be on the road every week. And our manager at the time, her name's Priyanka Sharma. She's actually now the general manager of the CNCF. She kept trying to convince me to do it anyway, and she said, look, we want to teach the world a little bit about how to do remote. Like, sure, we're still going to be traveling to, conferences and this and that, but, I want to show the world that GitLab's all remote, and this is how you can do remote advocacy. So this was pre-pandemic. I don't think she had a magic ball or anything, but it definitely helped us to already be thinking kind of in that mode. Now, having said that, I think I share lots of dev advocates and folks in roles like ours, the challenge that it has been to, have 4 virtual conferences going on at the same time, or try to understand how to make yourself effective and get your message out there while being remote. But I had a slight advantage that we were thinking about it beforehand, but the pandemic, of course, makes even remote different. So yeah, it's been a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's funny. Like you, I waited a long time before becoming a dev advocate because of the travel, and my kids were too small. And in January, I finally joined the advocacy team. Okay, I can travel like a crazy now.
Right.
But yeah, I don't mind. Like you, we turned pretty quickly to online as well. I could get all the equipment, the lights, the green screen, the mic, and everything. We were all set up the second week of March, so we were ready for it, and that helps a lot, I think. Yeah. And it's remote is different. Well, yeah, it's different. How to attract people, that's why we do the show, because webinars are great, workshops are great, but sometimes you need a bit of fun, a bit of relaxing, just chatting and stuff like that. So we are trying to do this show every week to do something different.
Yeah, no, that's smart. It's really smart. Yeah, because otherwise, it can just feel like webinar after webinar.
Exactly. Then you have the Zoom fatigue and etc., which is a real thing.
Oh yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Tell me a bit about GitLab, because I think most people know it, but just to make it clear, and what is different with the other big one that I won't pronounce the name. But
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's hard to not bring up the other elephant in the room of GitHub when you're talking about GitLab, and many folks. When I first started at GitLab, there was still a time where folks would kind of look at the booth, kind of squint their eyes a little and say, wait, are you GitHub? And then, no, we're GitLab. So GitLab was originally started as an open source project, actually way back in the early days of 2011, if you can believe it.
Wow.
It was in the beginning, an open source alternative to GitHub. Really, it was what it was. Our co-founder and the original person who wrote GitLab, DZ, lived in the Ukraine at the time, and to hear our CEO tell it, he had 2 problems. DZ had 2 problems. He had no running water at home, and he didn't have a collaboration tool he could use at work. And so he solved the first one first and wrote GitLab. I don't know if DZ likes that version of the story, but it's true. And so then around 2014, our CEO, Sid, he's living in the Netherlands at the time and discovered it and said, oh, this is really interesting, an open source tool that developers use to collaborate on, that they can also collaborate on the tool. I think that's really smart. And so he decided to start GitLab.com and asked DZ if he could do it. And DZ said, hey, it's open source. You can do what you want. And then the company legend is about a year after that, DZ tweeted, I wish I could work on GitLab full time. And Sid called him, and the rest is kind of history, as it were. We ended up going to Y Combinator, and now, like I said, run a massive business alongside, being stewards of the open source project that is GitLab. And so since then, we've kind of evolved differently than GitHub, right? GitHub, of course, is the place where open source happens, the SaaS platform where that happens. And while we have a SaaS business of GitLab.com, most of our customers are large enterprises that want to host their own code. So they run GitLab self-managed. So either, in their own cloud or in their own on-premises. And we have an open core model where there's a fully open source version, and then also our proprietary version that brings in other features for large enterprises. And we've really, because of that, had to grow into this, DevOps platform for the entire DevOps lifecycle. So we couldn't just do code hosting and have those enterprises be happy. We've gone into CI/CD and monitoring. We've gone into planning and management ahead of time. And so that kind of entire DevOps lifecycle is what GitLab covers now.
Yeah, so you mentioned CI/CD. That's GitLab Runner, right?
Correct. Yeah. So there's a CI/CD portion to GitLab, and then that orchestrator for that is called the GitLab Runner.
Okay.
It's interesting because that's actually the kind of the impetus of this single application. So GitLab CI came from, again, scratching your own itch. DZ was tired of building GitLab and maintaining a Jenkins server and all this stuff. And so he wrote GitLab CI as a separate product originally. And then it had a runner at the time that was in Ruby and did okay. But we had an open source contributor contribute a GitLab runner in Go, which then enabled it to be cross-platform kind of natively, and that was a lot better. So we brought that in, and he works for us now. His name's Camille. He's a great guy, and he actually then said, and we need to make one application out of GitLab CI and GitLab. And DZ and Sid said, no, you're completely wrong. Many sharp tools, they're integrated better than they ever could be elsewhere. We're not going to do that. We shouldn't do that. And Camille persisted. And in the end, we learned that, this really is the way, right? Folks want this fully integrated platform. And we think the best way to deliver that's a single application. And now we're seeing, consolidation in industry that really points to that being the way that things are going. And so turns out Camille was right twice over, and why we like him so much.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I need to learn about this part because next week I'm giving a talk for GitLab. There's the engineering summit in France. I will be giving a talk there. And I promised people that I will integrate GitLab Runner in OpenShift. There's an operator for that, so it should be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I need to play with it. But it's next week, so for me, next week is really far away.
That's really far away, and I'm sure you'll DM me if you have an issue. So
exactly, and there's also Philippe that helped me a lot. So
yeah, fantastic.
So, yeah. So the other difference with GitHub is you say merge request and not pull request. I know, and
we do. I mean, you're requesting that the server run the command git merge.
Yeah.
Not really pulling anything; it's already there. But look, that's a discussion for that. Kind of like a tabs versus spaces discussion. But yeah,
I was about to say tabs versus spaces. But yeah, it was funny because I didn't knew it in the beginning, and Philippe, he was often tweeting, I need to work on these MRs. What he's talking about, and I asked him, merge request. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, cool. So yeah, I went on your website, which is a really nice website, by the way. I love it. How you present all the things and the structure, and it's you really want to spend time there when you go on your website. So congrats on that. So you talk a lot about the DevOps subject. I heard someone talking on a podcast last week saying that DevOps was not a job, but Do you agree? Do you agree on this? That DevOps is more a spirit that should be, but you could not pin yourself as a DevOps. I don't know. What's your opinion about on this?
Yeah, that's again a pretty religious discussion, kind of. But I would say, I mean, I don't want to mince my words, and I would say that no, I don't think DevOps should be a job now, or it shouldn't be only a job. Let me be more specific. I think there's plenty of space for folks to have a role that's focused on DevOps, and if that means their title has DevOps in it, that's fine. I think the reason you see so much pushback against that is a lot of people are just taking, who was a sysadmin yesterday and putting their term DevOps into their job description and thinking, oh, that's how we're gonna solve all the world's problems. And so I think that not acknowledging that DevOps really at its core has to be this methodology, right? Like the whole term comes from the desire to bring developers and operators together into being the same organization. And so if you don't actually do that, then you're not doing DevOps. And I think that's why you see a lot of like visceral reactions to people having a DevOps in their title. And so I would say, no, it can't just be a job, but that doesn't mean it can't be in someone's title. Does that? So like I'm gonna straddle the world there a little bit, but I think the reason you see people react to it being a title is because they worry that the cultural change of, bringing developers and operators together to understand how to deliver better software faster, that kind of core DevOps methodology isn't being considered if you just think it's something that you can buy off a shelf. And heck, I sell, a tool that's for DevOps, but it's not something you can just buy off a shelf, right? You can't, of course, if you buy GitLab, it's going to help, but you can't just buy GitLab and it solves all your problems. And sure, my marketing folks are watching this cringing at me saying that, but like you can't, right? Like you have to also adopt this methodology. And honestly, that's a reason why our website is the way it is, because we want to talk about how you really embrace that methodology in an enterprise or in any organization, because without that, our customers won't be successful. And if our customers aren't successful, well, they won't have a need for our software. So we see those two things as directly tied to each other.
Yeah, okay, cool. It's like Agile. If you pick the one methodology like Scrum or Safe, I don't really like this. And if you try to apply it exactly how it's written in the book, won't work most of the time. And I think, with DevOps movement, it's the same. And people should. I also saw your book recommendation. I saw one book from Gene Kim, the Accelerate, but you didn't mention. I didn't saw this one for me.
The Phoenix Project, yeah. I don't. That's a good question. I do think the Phoenix Project is table stakes. Probably. Maybe I should have that in my book recommendations. And I like the updated version. The new one, the Unicorn Project,
Yeah, I get the 5th anniversary limited edition. Maybe it's I don't know.
Yeah. I think that in some ways, if you have the problems today, and many people do have the problems of that we read in the Phoenix Project today, right? There's plenty of enterprises that still have those kinds of issues. But I think that even once you solve those problems, then there's harder problems to solve, right? So then let's say you do that, or you get to DevOps, right? It's like then there's harder problems to solve about, okay, how do we ship better products, safer products faster? And so I think that a lot of the research that Dora did, right? And so that's the folks behind Dora, or the folks that wrote Accelerate, really is some of the best research that we have on what are the things that you need to focus on in order to deliver, better software faster. And I think, it's not that everyone's going to go be Amazon or Netflix and deliver software thousands of times a day, but kind of pushing your organization in that direction is the thing that's going to let you really evolve, right? Doing more deploys, exactly because it's harder to do, is the thing that's gonna get you to be able to move quicker.
quicker. And also looking back in the past what people did already 40 years ago. And I just say that of one talk he gave, I just saw the abstract about the Apollo 11 mission. So, can you say a few words about? I just read the abstract. I said, "Oh, I have to watch this talk later because
Sure.
You want to."
Yeah, I've always been super fascinated with the Apollo program. When I was a kid, the space shuttle was a big deal, which is cool. But this Apollo program kind of always interested me. Apollo 13 was a super popular movie when I was younger, and I was also always interested in like the computers that took us there, right? Because you'll hear these, kind of throwaway lines about, oh, your phone has, 7 bajillion times the processing power of the computer that took us to the moon. So I wanted to learn more about that. And last year, 2019, was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, or the first moon landing in 1969. And so it was a great excuse to write that abstract and get get that talk on the books. But the really interesting thing I learned while doing it, two really interesting things. One, if you watch that talk, it became a talk about Margaret Hamilton. And that was just because in researching it, you cannot talk about software and the Apollo program without talking about Margaret Hamilton, because actually the first drafts of the proposal for the Apollo program didn't mention the word software one time. And Margaret Hamilton really brought this discipline to that program because software ended up being this huge part of how the guidance computer worked and how they actually calculated how they were going to get to the moon. And again, at the time, the hardware engineers kind of looked down on it as this softer thing. But Margaret, was the one that coined the term software engineering, right? And she did that very intentionally to say, look, this is just as life safety, just as important as any of the other engineering that's going into this mission. And so I go through in that talk a lot of those things that, in addition to software engineering, I feel like really we owe Margaret Hamilton for inventing. Things like continuous testing. She wasn't really branching code, but she really kind of did branch code because once she introduced a bug into like kind of the main line of their software, the next morning everyone was at her desk waiting for her when she got there because everything was broken. And so a lot of like concepts I think we take for granted or maybe even don't live up to now really were pioneered in those days. And so it's a really interesting thing. Just user testing and those kinds of things. She had her daughter at the time was about 6, and she would bring her sometimes because, of course, the men were all working late and not worried about the family, and Margaret, of course, was, and so she brought her daughter along because everyone else was working. And her daughter did something. She put the computer back into launch mode while they were like in mid-flight, right? In theory, right in the simulator. Yeah. And Margaret said, "Oh, we've got to protect against this." And she was told, "Oh, no. Astronauts are professionals. They're trained. They're highly trained." Well, guess what happened during Apollo 8? Jim Lovell accidentally put the computer back into launch mode, and it took hours to get the telemetry data fed back in because, of course, it didn't have, memory just sitting around to spare. And so then the next mission, it did have protections against that, but at the time, no one, she really brought this kind of discipline of software engineering to the forefront, and it was really interesting to learn about that in researching that talk.
Yeah, oh, cool. Yeah, I will for sure watch it. Yeah. Okay, let me check the time. Yeah. Okay. I also see that you write quite some stuff about Kubernetes. So you like Kubernetes?
Yeah, I think, it is. I hesitate to say this because I think I might get back. I do think it is a once in a, kind of generational shift in the way we look at developing software. But I also think that saying that overstates it. I think that, we've been kind of very focused on Kubernetes at GitLab for a while. In fact, before I came to GitLab, I remember, I would read about Kubernetes on like Hacker News, and the only like real executives in any company I heard talking about it was like Sid, our CEO, and Yob at the time was our VP of product, and I would see them in YouTube videos talking about it. And I do think it kind of represents this shift in our ability to abstract the right level of things away from developers to get the job done that they want to get done. But I also do think we're very much still in the infancy of that, right? And I think that actually means that not everyone will be a Kubernetes expert, right? Like, it doesn't mean every developer has to go learn the ins and outs and do Kubernetes the hard way and all of that. The idea of Kubernetes is actually the most exciting part of it is what we're going to build on top of it, right? And the platforms that we'll build on top of Kubernetes and the distributions of Kubernetes that will come out, much like Linux, right? Like, not every developer is an expert in every system command in Linux, but it is core to how we develop software. I think we'll look back on Kubernetes in years and see it in much the same way.
Yeah, I think that's what I tell to people as well when I try to sell them. Well, not sell them, show them. About Kubernetes, I asked this question to everyone, to all of my guests. What is your preferred feature of Kubernetes? If you have to pick one, or you can take two if you want.
Sure. I mean, it's funny. I think just the core idea of, scheduling workloads is just something that, like, I know it's so kind of elementary to it, but it's the thing that we've wanted as system engineers forever. Like, I remember very vividly, I used to have, I used to help run engineering at a small medical software company. And of course, at the time, we were like every company in the early 2000s or whatever. We had a server room with servers in it, and we had our email running there, and this and that, and all, everything's running there in our server room. And email, of course, is super, super valuable. And if it went down for even a minute, the salespeople would freak out that the email was down. And I remember saying to my system admin at the time, like, what I want to be able to do is take one of the Exchange servers and take it off the rack and throw it against the wall and have email stay up. Like, that's what I want. And, like, that's such a hard thing to do before you can abstract away, this concept of the node, the computer that I was talking about pulling off the shelf. And so to me, that is, while kind of the elementary part of Kubernetes is also the most exciting, because, this cloud computing gives us this concept of these immutable nodes. And so, like, this whole idea of having, we say, I don't know if it translates in French, but we say, having cattle over pets, right? Like, just that concept to me was what brought me to Kubernetes to begin with, and still amazes me to this day that, we can now describe amazingly complex things and have custom CRDs and things that we describe and all these things, but at its core, like, the system's going to schedule them and make sure it exists. That's.
Yeah, it's still magic for me, and most of my guests answered the scheduler. Yeah, but it's the And then the other question that I ask is, if for the next release of Kubernetes you could imagine pick up whatever feature that you dream of, and that will be included in the next release of Kubernetes, what would that be?
Oh wow, that's even harder. I think I do still think there's a middle. I think the API, again, is like its greatest strength, greatest weakness for Kubernetes. I think there's a lot of things in life that are greatest strength, greatest weakness. And so, that API and the flexibility of it is, like, so incredible, and what gives it all of its strength. But I also think that there is an abstraction layer or two or three to be made on top of that. And I think it would be great if the first one was standard. And so I don't know what that looks like exactly, but my answer would be people smarter than me that working on Kubernetes, figuring out what the one level of abstraction is like, and having both be core to Kubernetes. And then, sure, folks are going to have other levels of abstraction above and above and above and layered above. But I'd love to see that kind of as core part, just to make it more accessible to everyone.
Yeah. And that's what, for instance, the project Knative. I don't know if you tried Knative a bit. Knative, it's sold as a serviceless solution, but it's more than that for me, because it makes it so easier. You just define one service, a small YAML of 10 lines, and that creates the revisions, the deployment, the service, the route. And when you're doing Knative for a few weeks, and then you have to go back to vanilla Kubernetes. It hurts to say, oh, I really have to create all these files, all the YAML files. So, yeah. And actually, last week I was at a meeting of Knative because they're going for an open governance model. It's not only Google behind. And I asked them, I say, could we ever dream one day that Knative server will be part of Kubernetes? And they told me probably not, because we at Kubernetes, with the operators and CRDs, we are trying to make it lighter, which makes sense. But he says Kubernetes could get some inspiration from the Knative project for some parts for it. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, we're almost out of time. But yeah, thank you for all these answers. I try to collect them, all these answers around Kubernetes, and then I make videos of it. And it's always great to watch it. Yeah, for some people it's a scheduler, for someone it was the autoscaler. What did I had last week? 2 weeks ago was the init container. The preferred feature from someone was the init container. I say, it's a great stuff and not well known and so useful. And so I love to hear all these things. Anyway, hey, Brendan, thank you so much for the interview. I will share your website, your Twitter account. I had to do that on the chat. I will do it later. I hope to cross your road someday when we will be able to travel. I have no idea when that will happen because things are not really getting better lately. But
yeah. I'll take the optimistic view and hope for some time next year, but we'll see.
Exactly. We will see. Okay. Hey, anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sebastian.
And see you next time. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. So, hi everyone. So you can let me change the jingle. You can hide your okay. Thank you, Brandon. Right. Okay, hey everyone. Now it's time for even more fun. I love this interview. It was a great interview. I hope you liked it. Let me check a bit the chat because let me see. Hey, Sun is there, and Jason, he say, hey guys, thanks a lot for this amazing show. Always a lot of fun, but also interesting information with good guests. Thank you so much, Jason. I love these kinds of comments. So, awesome. Thank you so much. That's really what we try to do. Have great guests, have fun, relax a bit. And, yeah, so I won't play my jingle because my jingle is called news, and I don't do the news anymore, as you know, because, yeah, news are boring. What I do, last week I did some live coding. Today I will just explain you the game that we are going to play together. Okay, so let me just be sure I'm on the right view here with all the stuff going on. Yes, it's good. Let me move to another view. So here I get my Stream Deck. By the way, oh, yeah. By the way, for people who don't know what the Stream Deck is, that is a Stream Deck. So, like in the TV studio, you have all these buttons, and I can change to my scenes. I can go back here, and then I can go back there. I can apply sources like this. So it's really funny. Anyway, today in the show, for the game, as you know, we will play a special version of Pac-Man. Okay, and let me try to draw a bit what I'm trying to do. Well, it's not, to be honest, it's not the most spectacular game that I run, but I spent so much time on it to make it work. The whole night yesterday and this morning, and I was just able to deploy it 2 hours ago. So let's see how it goes. Let me. Where is my video? This one. I think I had to put it up. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so today for the game, what are we going to do? There we go. I make my nice banner because I like to do that, and I learn how to do it now. Well, this is not so nice, but we will play a Pac-Man game. Okay, so you know this little Pac-Man, and Pac-Man is supposed to eat ghosts. Okay, and there are 4 different ghosts. There's Inky, Pinky, Blinky, and Clyde. Okay, and what I did. So what I did, I went on. Well, sorry, Brendan, but I went on GitHub, and I looked for an open source Pac-Man. Okay, written in JavaScript. So that is my Pac-Man here, and I found one. Okay, that I could use. Really important. That's open source, and so I can change it. Okay, and what I did was just something really simple. Every time, well, when you will connect to the game, it will send. Why can I not draw? It's not drawing anymore. Oh, my pen is not. Oh, I changed the color. Sorry, black. When you will join the game, there will be a Kafka message sent. And you, as a player, you will be added to a topic called players. Okay, players. And each time that you eat a ghost, that will also create a Kafka record. And I call that a score event, okay? And which just mention your user ID and the name of the ghost that you ate. Okay, so I got 2 topics here. And then what I do, I use Kafka Streams. So Kafka Streams, let me go. Streams, okay, Kafka Streams. And I merge these 2 topics, I do some calculation, and I send the result back on the leaderboard. Okay? And on this leaderboard, well, I hadn't time to finish it, so you will just see the records arriving with your name, your username, and how many ghosts you have eaten, and your total score. Okay? So, that's all. But I had a lot of fun doing this. How did I do that? Technically, so let me remove this screen and let me show you. Let me go there. So of course, like all the games, I deploy that on OpenShift. So for people who don't know what OpenShift is the Kubernetes for the enterprise, the Kubernetes made by Red Hat. Okay, so it's a full Kubernetes, and there I have deployed some workloads, okay, and I have 3 workloads. I got my Pac-Man called the Pac-Man Show, which is the Pac-Man game, so the front end, and also all the Kafka support to send the messages. Then I have the Pac-Man aggregator, which is a Kafka Stream client. It will take those both clients. Both topics, merge them together and put the result on a 3rd topic, okay? And then I have my score Pac-Man, which is just another application reading from this aggregated topic and displaying the results and sending them as server-side events. Okay, so that is basically what I did. They are all built with Quarkus, like always, because Quarkus is so great. I will never be thankful enough to the engineers behind Quarkus. It's an amazing project. And to do, to set up my Kafka, again, I think I already showed you that in the show, but what I'm doing is so in OpenShift you have the operator app, and there you can install, let me see, yeah. And there you can install operators, and one operator is called Streamzy. And with this operator, what you basically can do is here Kafka, for instance, create instance. I won't click here, but my network is really slow. I hope everything is okay. And that will create, if I do here, create, that will just create a whole complete Kafka cluster with me, with the zookeepers. Here by default it's free replicas, so free clusters. It creates a service for me, it's a route for me, everything that I need. Really, in a few clicks, I'm able to run my Kafka cluster. And to be completely honest, it's faster to try things out with Kafka deployed on the cluster than trying it locally. Okay? You can do it locally with Docker Compose. You can easily set it up. But still, for me, it's way more smooth by deploying it on a cluster directly. So, and what can I show you else before we start playing the game? Because you're all waiting. Let me see. Let me go to my OBS, and I have another screen for you. Oh yeah, just want to show you some code. Not this. This is me trying to do some JavaScript, jQuery, by the way, because yeah, all this cool kid stuff, I don't know anything about it. I'm still doing jQuery for my needs, but that is a score application that will show you the score. And just to show you how easy it is with Quarkus to play with Kafka. Basically, all I need to do is add one extension called Reactive Messaging Kafka, okay? And then here I just inject a channel with the name of my Kafka topic. And here it creates a multi. A multi is a reactive construct inside Quarkus from the project called Mutiny, okay? But anyway, I just declared this channel here, and then I have here my REST method, which sends server-side events, and I just return my channel. And by specifying it as a server-side event, I'm sure each time there's a new score aggregation arriving, it will be just pushed to my server. So it's that easy. And wow, I'm in time today. So let me drink some water, and I will share the URLs with you. And again, if you have any question, of course, you can ask them. Let me check the logs here. Oh, Sun, he likes COBOL news. Yeah, COBOL news. Well, Sun, by the way, Sun, maybe one day you can come on the show and show all the crazy stuff you can do with Eclipse J. So you can do COBOL, but I saw a talk from Sun, and I don't remember the name of your co-speaker. I won't pronounce his name, but because I will mess it up. But basically, Sun showed how you can develop Scratch. You remember Scratch, this programming language for kids? Scratch extensions directly in Eclipse J. And how to interact with your Kubernetes cluster. It's an awesome demo, and yeah, you will probably come on the show one day to show it. Anyway, let's go back to the URLs so I can share them with you. Let me go here. Let me remove this screen. Yeah, this one is my awesome picture. And let me remove this one. Yeah. So, I will pick up the game. So let me just bring up the scoreboard. I won't share the scoreboard with you, but I will show it because I have some issues. And yeah, I'm gonna go here. Okay, so this is my scoreboard, and once you will play the game here, we should see records. So I don't do any aggregation for the same player, etc. So it will be raw data, but still it will be fun. Okay, I want to make it nice, but I was running out of time. So this is the scoreboard, and now what you are all waiting is the game. So send you the link, and hey, thanks to Pierre. So Pierre, Pierre there on the chat, he's doing amazing sketchnote, and he actually gave me the trigger. Yeah, I followed a small workshop from 1 hour where he said, so this is how you can start with sketchnoting. And since then, yeah, I try to do it a bit, but Pierre do really great stuff. Why do not aggregate per user? Yeah, I couldn't. I aggregate. You will see. I still do aggregation by user. You will see it, but not. It was more on the presentation layer that I didn't manage to do it. Okay, so you can all go there on the Pacman site. Okay, so well, let me go there as well, and you just can click. You should see a name assigned for you. So I am Adele146, and yeah, there we have Björn. So how do you make points? You make points by eating ghosts. That's the only way you make points. Okay, so. And Björn is on fire. Okay, so I have no idea how many players there are because I forgot to put a counter of players. But there we have Grace, and let me join as well. Okay, because I love Pac-Man. So people, just try to eat as much as ghosts as possible, and we will see. We have some time, so we can play a bit. Be smart enough to not eat all the pills so you can eat the maximum of ghosts. So it's a bit strategic compared to the other games. Let me see. Okay, let me pause and let me see how far people are. Oh, awesome. So look at all this data coming in. All this data in. So I'm looking here at the score. Looks like Guido is leading here with 6. So that's what I meant. 7, Grace. So Grace, 9, awesome. Everyone is playing here. It works as, and if you want, you can also check the, I also have an endpoint that show you the raw data of the records that come in, okay? I can probably show you that. That could be interesting as well. If I open that here, and I pour, I should see here coming in, yeah. So people, you see that is the data that I receive. So you see what I do, I aggregate every time that the same player, so do we have the same player, like Grace here. Grace, here before he had 4 Blinky, 1 Clyde, 1 Inky, 2 Pinky, and here he ate an extra Inky, so I aggregate this result, and now he has a score of 10, okay? Let me see how the score goes. We have someone with 14 points here. That is great. Let me play a bit, but I'm way too late. Okay. And the great thing is, maybe we'll try it next time. If we have hundreds of users playing the game, I can easily scale up this application, this Kafka stream, because Kafka streams you can just spin up as many clients that you want, and yeah. It will just manage it. So I'm playing here and I don't have any pills left. That's the danger, because you try to eat all the ghosts and then you don't have any pills to finish the level. So that's the challenge, I think. And that's great. It makes the game a bit different. Okay? And anyway, let me pause again, and I'm really curious about the score here. Wow, we got a 24 here. Guido, 993, okay, 26, it's still Guido. Looks like Guido is leading. He's mastering the game. Yeah, he's on fire. Look at it, 28. And if I look, so I finished this morning with jQuery, by the way. But I need to make this nicer, okay? A nice leaderboard with animation, and my team will help me on this. That was just a first try. Let me go in the chat a bit, see if the people enjoy. Oh, people are not chatting because you are all playing, I assume. Anyway, I love it. Let me see the score again. Oh, look, Guido isn't scoring anymore, so, or he lost. That could be, or he's struggling to end the level so he can have new ghosts. Okay, so cool. I'm really happy. It looks like it's working pretty nicely here. Here we have the raw data again. You know what? Since it's working fine, let me take a picture. I never did a picture during my own show, you know, because people do selfies. Let me do a selfie for one time. A selfie of me And I cannot tell you, hey, do hello. So there we go. And I will tweet it right after the show. Okay. I will leave this game up for a while so people can just play it. I will share you the leaderboard. Okay, so you can play it with your friends and compare the leaderboard. I will try to share the sources as well so that people can play it. You will see the scoreboard. When you will click on it, it will be empty because it only retrieves the latest record, not all the records. That's also something that I need to fix to make nice. But again, the team will help me. Let me take a look at the score. Let's say we are going to finish almost now. Oh, Guido is back. Guido is back. So who is Guido 3993? Because he's really mastering the game. And I could not even say who is second. Maybe Bjorn. Okay, so there is also something else that I need to check, fix. Put here the score of this game, because here you get the score, but it's not the real score that I'm using. Okay, so a lot of possibilities here. What I will also do is every time that you eat a ghost, that will create a pod, and I will be in Doom trying to kill it. So we can try to have fun. The purpose here was to show you Kafka. And again, there's, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 players, but it could handle, well, maybe millions of players. I hope in a few months, when the show will be so popular, everyone will try to play this game and we will see how it scales. Look, people are continuing to play, so I'm pretty proud of my HTML table with the small images there. Anyway. So, Sen is a good. Sen, you are so good. Congratulations, Sen. The Pac-Man master, exactly. Congratulations, Sen. I also, did I show you I also have this ghost here. Ghost. Joe. Okay? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the game. I had a lot of fun building it. A bit of a nightmare yesterday with the Kafka streams. It was not because of Kafka stream, but because I was trying that on my local machine and not on the cluster. And Kafka streams use a temporary file, and if you don't delete it, it messes up your offsets and etc. Anyway, let me go back to the big screen. Let me try this. I had it in mind. I go just away for a moment and I come back. So, I want to wish you happy Halloween if you celebrate this. So, we are running this week with some French speakers. Every night and every lunchtime we have a small conference running in French. And it's called the Rendezvous de Halloween des Speakers. So it's a Halloween conference. Okay, so at 6:30 we will have the next stream starting. Next week, special day. Yeah, special day for the US, but it will be early for the US. Everyone will be watching the US, but we will have an awesome guest. We will have Holly Cummings. I'm so happy that she can join, and she works at IBM. I mentioned her when at my second show about Kafka Summit. She did a keynote explaining how it was important that we take care of making good cloud-native apps so we don't use too much energy, okay? So we will talk about that, but also other things. Again, if you have ideas or things that you would like that I cover, put it in comment, put it on Twitter. Twitter here above me, you can tweet about the show. I love comments I saw here in the chat. Just tweet about the show. I'm honest. I love to see good feedback on the show. If you have if you have bad feedback, you can also share it, but share it in private with me. Okay? No, you do like you want. Okay. Anyway, I wish you all super week. Super Halloween. Stay safe. We are not living in the most funny moment of our lives, so I try to bring you some fun in this show and showing you cool stuff at the same time. and I see you next week. Hey, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.